Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty RoundTable Radio Talk Show.
Absolutely out of control weather, flights still being canceled, weekly Q&As from the doctor and more, not to mention camera systems being deployed to spy on us all, World War III scenarios, Trump's obsession with Greenland, will the United States attack Iran, Donald Trump, Gavin Newsom, kiss the ring. We'll talk about it all. You're watching Liberty Roundtable Live, but first, weather out of control. 14 plus states had over a foot of snow. They say ice in the south everywhere. And, you know, some of us in the mountains don't really understand this because we get snow and we're like, well, what's the big deal? Snow's snow, isn't it? No, snow's not just snow. When you get snow that's super wet because of humidity and everything, it's a different ballgame, number one. It's not the dry powder we think of when it's great skiing in the Rocky Mountains. But when you get in the south, what happens is it basically stays below freezing. It's so humid, it's icy as all get out. Everything turns into a thin sheet of ice everywhere. And that means that ice is on the power lines, which means power lines. Ice on the trees, which means trees. It all starts coming down, folks, and wreaking havoc everywhere. Just so the folks in the Rocky Mountains understand, it's not the same thing. I know you think it is, but I'm telling you that it's not. Think of frog strangler rain and then it turning into ice everywhere. People can't get out of their driveways. It is insane. James Edwards with us, dear friend from the politicalcesspool.org radio broadcast, also contributor to all that we do. Well, welcome back. And you guys are stuck at home, James?
We are absolutely stranded, Sam. I hope y'all can hear me okay because I'm not on my normal device that I use to connect to the studio, rather on my cell phone.
Good,
so I know. Well, very good. But yes, we are absolutely iced in. Let me just tell you this, without any sensationalism and without any clickbait intended. You know, I'm not a weatherman. I don't have a Twitter account like that, so I'm not getting any revenue for this. I'm 45 years old. I'm 5 years shy of a half century on this earth, and I've never seen anything like this. We have snow every year. You know, it doesn't snow a lot in Memphis in the Mid-South, but about once or twice a year it'll get snow enough to go out and do a snowman or a snowball fight or whatever. They still in Memphis talk about the 1994 ice storm, which was pretty infamous and very much remembered, historic. My dad was a fireman in 1994. He was the captain of the fire department and there in our little town of Bartlett. And I can remember, you know, all the power being out in the town, and but the fire station had power, and you could drive down the road, and it was about a mile away from our house. We'd go there and take showers and stuff. But then I was a kid, so it was kind of fun. This is totally different. I mean, this is absolutely catastrophic what has happened, and the line of the storm, I mean, we got it, okay, here in Memphis. There's about, you know, you got to understand there's a difference between what actually accumulated and the drifts that'll come up next to your house. I mean, I'm looking outside my window at a mound of ice. You could dig into it and sit in it like an igloo. It's above my daughter's head. And so it's like 2 feet of just solid, impenetrable ice blocking the garage. So even if you could open the garage door, which you can't, you certainly can't get a car out of there unless you've got a monster truck. And we got it relatively lightly here. The storm, that ice storm that came through and went all the way from Texas up to the Northeast, skated right by Memphis. But when I say it skated by, I don't mean it missed us. I mean, we had every branch, every limb, every twig of every tree, you know, absolutely encased in ice, but just barely enough not to cause power lines and utility poles and trees to snap and explode. In the county immediately to my east and to the counties immediately to our south, I mean, it was a razor-thin margin. If you look at some of these radar images of the storm, within just a few miles, it looks like an apocalypse. If you look in Oxford, Mississippi, which is about an hour south of us, the mayor was on Fox News yesterday in tears saying it looks like a tornado has come down every street. It looks like, I mean, I'm trying to paint the best verbal picture I can. The entire forests in Mississippi have just laid down. The ice has just taken out everything. The entire landscape of northern Mississippi is never going to be the same as a result of this storm. And it is not, as you said, just snow. It came down for 2 straight days, even here in Memphis. It came down as freezing rain. It was very tiny little pellets, and it just accumulated over 2 days. And it is so slick. It is like concrete. You can't break through it with a shovel. You can't just go out and shovel your driveway. It's impossible. You're talking about 6 inches to a foot of just concreted ice, and it's compacted, and it's supposed
I know a
to
lot
say.
of people
and now
in the Rocky Mountains and in other places are going to be like, "Well, come on, just use ice melt, folks. This stuff is too thick just to use ice melt. You have to use bags and bags and bags of it. It's just not doable, James."
Well, if I don't even know if they sell that here. I mean, I guess they do probably, but it doesn't really ice or snow as much down here to where, you have to think about it perpetually as people in the Rockies may have to during the winter. And everything shut down. There's no business. There's no restaurant. The entire, they canceled every flight out of Memphis. They may have restored that by now because this was a couple of days ago. But, I mean, you have a lot of people that are just trapped in their homes. I mean, we certainly can't get out. And it's really something. I mean, it's beautiful. But, it's dangerous, but it's beautiful. It's certainly something to see, but it's definitely caused just widespread damage. Certainly more than any tornado or any natural disaster in this area in my lifetime.
Dr. Scott Bradley, some people are even calling it Ice-ageddon, sir.
Which has nothing to do with spaghetti. No, the old saying, don't mess with Mother Nature. I mean, I'm telling you, the forces of nature can be phenomenally effective at disrupting what our normal cycle of life is, it seems like. But, it's something, as he was talking about, just razor's edge, where it affected and where it didn't fully affect. You think about the way tornadoes, sometimes they pick one house and then the house next door to it doesn't have any damage. And so it's just a really interesting thing. As soon as we get thinking we got it all together and there ain't nothing that we can't face, it's kind of like, try handling this one for a minute. And so I think that we've got a reminder occasionally there's something bigger than us. I mean, I've been in some of those ice storms that are just phenomenal. I think of one morning I got up in Dallas and I was the only vehicle on the road anywhere to get out of town because the ice had basically turned everything into a hockey rink, And the things that a lot of people don't think of is the weight on the wires and the limbs of the trees, and it's just devastating. It takes them down.
Dr. Bradley, things just come down. People don't really realize. For us, the snow's soft and powdery and light, and it doesn't take too much to get it gone. But when this ice literally sticks and molds and gets bigger and bigger, it just gets super heavy. We don't really, it happens a little bit in Utah, but not in other places, but not like this, right?
Well,
go ahead, James.
Brad.
No, go ahead, James.
Well,
I'm sorry.
No, my friend. First of all, I'm honored to be on the air with you. I didn't know you were here. Of course, we've been scrambling and a little disorganized. But yes, the people don't understand. And another thing that we've learned about this is, the accretion. That's the amount of ice on, power lines or trees. They can handle up to, a quarter of an inch, half an inch, maybe. It gets more than that, and things just start coming down just from the, impossible weight load. And another thing about trees is, and I didn't know this until this week, and by the way, folks, if you want to see a visual, just Google Oxford, Mississippi ice. And that'll give you an idea of what it's looking like around here. And, of course, Oxford is the town in Mississippi where the University of Mississippi is, Ole Miss. And this storm moved northeast in a diagonal line. Nashville, Tennessee has it. The entire I-40, Interstate 40 between Memphis and Nashville is just a river of ice. You can't even see the road. And this is a major, thoroughfare. At least it has been for the last couple of days. The sun is out today, but it's not supposed to get above freezing. It's supposed to get 40 a week and a half from now. Well, as you know, after a snow, the snowman's the last thing to go, right? The snowman can stay up even after it's like 50 or 60 degrees for a couple of days. This whole thing is just an ice cap, guys. It's an ice cap. And one thing that happens when you have this frigid air, it got down to -1 last night in Memphis. I went outside just to feel it. And the sap and the moisture in the trees expands when they when it gets that deep of a freeze, and it explodes. The trees are literally exploding, and it sounds like bombs in some places in this area. So it's just really, I mean, most people will never see this again in their lifetime. I've certainly never seen anything like this. And we were very much spared of the worst of that. We never even lost power, but we are stranded, and we do have the ice, but not nearly to the extent that they have, in that line between Nashville and going down to northern Mississippi, those counties, and all the way up, further than that even. So, yeah, anyway, that's what's happening. That's what I'm looking at.
Wow, James, our prayers are with you and your family. We're going to let you fly. We know you've got family things to do, and you can't leave your house and everything else. We'll catch you later, and keep an eye as we get updates on this as they try to, I don't even know if the right term is dig out. Maybe you say de-ice. Thanks, James.
We need flamethrowers. We'll talk to y'all later. Thank you, guys.
Liberty Roundtable Live.
Attention collectors and savvy investors. We are excited to announce a momentous evolution in our journey. Introducing Free Water Coin Company, formerly known as Rust Coin and Gift. This rebranding takes us back to the very roots of where it all began. Free Water, Oregon. It's a tribute to the legacy of Al Rust and a celebration of 3 generations of dedication to excellence in the world of coins and precious gifts. Al, Brian, and Jake Rust standing strong through 64 years of service. Discover a world of exceptional service at Free Water Coin Company, your premier destination for genuine, honest money and precious gifts. Under Brian's expert guidance, Free Water Coin Company, building on the legacy of Rust Coin and Gift, continues its tradition of trust and excellence. Visit us at our Provo, Utah location. Explore our treasures online at freewatercoinco.com or call us at 801-377-1574. Free Water Coin Company, where your future is built one honest coin at a time.
Introducing Managed IT Services from NPI. We offer top-notch data backup and recovery, email spam protection, and network security tailored to your needs and budget. With 20-plus years of experience in the medical field, our HIPAA-certified consultants know what it takes to protect sensitive information. Don't settle for less. Give us a call at 801-706-6980 and experience the difference with Managed IT Services. Remember, your IT support should be fast, efficient, and reliable.
Introducing PrepStartsNow.com, your ultimate guide to readiness and peace of mind. We offer practical preparedness tools, training, and education to take your family's household readiness to the next level. Browse the prep shop for essential products, check out our planning guides, and stay informed with our prep blog. Visit PrepStartsNow.com and subscribe to our emails for exclusive offers, new products, and future events. Remember, preparedness begins with PrepStartsNow.com.
It's kind of interesting how we each get, kind of acclimated, if you will, to our normal for our life. I mean, whether it's what time you get up in the morning or have breakfast, or the weather that you seem to come to expect. And it's interesting how you throw a curveball in there, and it becomes kind of I don't know. It's something
catastrophic.
It's difficult to deal with. I mean, I was in Washington, D.C. one time, and I'll bet we got only a half an inch of snow. I mean, and I as you point out, sometimes we're out in the Rocky Mountains, and I remember one time at the university I was working at, we got, it got up in the morning, and it was 25 or 30 inches of snow on my driveway, and I had to get to work because I knew there was going to be, some challenges at work. And anyway, I jumped in my 4-wheel drive, drove over there, and university president was on the phone. Why haven't we canceled school? And it's kind of like, well, this is the mountains. We get snow. I mean, people come to, expect it and deal with it. But if you get something out of the ordinary, like a half an inch of snow in Washington, D.C., I mean, things just go into gridlock. And boy, I'll tell you, like I say, Mother Nature can throw a curveball in there. And pretty soon we're finding out that we're pretty puny when it comes to the scope and magnitude and the power of all of these elemental forces that are upon the earth. So yeah, it can be pretty devastating if it's not part of your daily routine. And again, Sam, you point out, some of us in the mountains were thinking, they got a little snow. Come on, what's going on? And but the twist.
It's one, not part of their daily routine, and number two, we don't really understand either that the snow and ice is different there. When you get a big coating of ice in the south, it's not the same thing as a little coating of ice in the Rocky Mountains. I'm telling you, it's not the same thing. It's because of the humidity, because of a variety of factors, and I'm certainly not a scientist. I'm just telling you, it's not the same at all. And even in Utah and Idaho, a few years ago, we had a big storm, and it started caving in roofs even in Idaho, I remember. And so we need to realize this is serious business, people.
You build to a snow load, and it's kind of one of those things that you don't expect something. I mean, I know back in 1983 in Utah, we had a very wet spring, and State Street in Salt Lake City, which is the main artery north and south through the community, was all sandbagged up, and motorboats were driving up and down the street. I mean, people were fishing from the sandbags. I mean, something that you go, wait, you don't see this every day. And so, things can change, and having a little, a little preparedness goes a long way sometimes. And of course, you can't completely always address everything that might come along, but you can do your best, and it sure helps when the time comes. Like, for example, where James is, if they had a home generator, even a small one, to keep the furnace blowing, but I got kids in Missouri, and they're farm animals that they're having to take care of, and the if it's below zero and the snow's deep, which they're not used to really, suddenly, we got to do life a little bit differently. And so, being a little flexible, something you have to be ready for when Mother Nature throws you a curveball.
And we have a website to help with that called prepstartsnow.com. That's prepstartsnow.com. And it can help people. It has some guidance documents that you can get for free to help you kind of lay out what you need to do. If you have to flee your home, where do you meet? How do you contact your loved ones if people are scattered? How do you, take care of water and make sure you have enough water and enough food to withstand things. And, people need to think about preparedness. What a lot of people do is they think, I got to do it all at once. That's expensive and not very sustainable or real. What you got to do is do it a little bit at a time. Say, what if I had to stay in my home for a day? What if I had to flee for 3 days? What if I had to, and in my opinion, you start with preparedness in discussing the first, 72 hours. Get a 72-hour kit. Whether you need to flee, you can grab it and go, or whether you need to stay locked down, you can do it. Think about, water first, fuel second. Water first, food second. Think about fuel. Think about, clothing and warmth and cooling and whatever. You got to think about all those kind of things. And prepstartsnow.com can help with that. But I also want people to realize preparedness isn't just physical. I know people think, prep, that means you're storing, 50 gazillion candles or whatever. I mean, there's a point to that of preparing. It's not hoarding like the government executive orders want you to believe. It's actually wise preparing so that you can take care of you, your family, and even those around you. But preparedness, in my mind, goes way, way beyond that, Dr. Bradley. Preparedness has to do with spiritual preparedness. It has to do with emotional preparedness. It has to do with a lot more than just physical, and people don't realize that. They want to dig in and create a compound, and my response is, what if you're forced to leave that compound? What if you're overrun and you're on the run? Then what? And so it's hard to prepare for every contingency, but that's why I believe spiritual preparedness, being close to God and letting him let you know what you should do. Should I stay or should I go? I know that's a Clash or whatever popular song. Should I stay or should I go now? But it's a real question when you're in those kind of perilous situations, etc. But when you have a historic ice storm that paralyzes Oxford, Mississippi, widespread outages, dangerous conditions, literally creating a grip on the community like you wouldn't believe. They call it a historic winter ice storm. It's led Oxford, Mississippi, coated in thick ice, knocking out power for thousands, crippling roads with downed trees and power lines, forcing the university to close so that people could stay safe and warm. I mean, this stuff is, it's epic, Dr. Bradley, and it's serious. And I'm glad it didn't hit the rest of us, and I'm glad they haven't lost their power. But we need to realize every time one of these things happen, we need to kind of start to think about preparedness for ourselves. When will it be our turn? And what if we didn't have our electricity? I mean, there's just cold all across the country. If you don't have electricity, how are you going to stay warm? You know, people need to think about that. And then people start making mistakes. Like they'll try to fire up a generator in a garage, or they'll try to, and oftentimes that stuff backfires and results in loss of life. It's the lack of experience, the lack of know-how that's the problem in those cases. So anyway, I wanted to spend the time on this though, Doctor, because two things. One, we don't need to just idly look at these, pictures and go, wow, that's crazy. Ice-ageddon's happening. We need to think about what does that mean if it were to happen to us, and what can we do in preparation? And then we need to think about spiritual preparation. And then we need to think about, how many people have gone on the air with all these ice storms all across the country and said, listen, we need to turn to God. If we repent and turn to God, he promises us he will heal our land and protect us. Doctor, that's not an idle statement. That's something that I don't understand why everybody isn't talking about. And I guess it's just not newsworthy maybe. But to me, that's the key to focus on here. Turn to God, repent, do all you can to prepare, and have a relationship with God to trust in him for the rest. That's what we really ought to be focusing on and doing, rather than just saying, hey, it's Ice-ageddon and look how crazy it is. And there's better answers, Doctor.
It's kind of a strange phenomenon that we face in this country. We have probably the poorest historical memory, if you will, of any country on the earth. The legends that are told around the campfires in Africa kind of perpetuate that among those peoples. And Russia has, a big memory of all of the invasions they've had. And the United States seems to be, have an institutional memory of about a week and a half, maybe. And so sometimes you do have to give pause, look at what has historically happened. This turning from God or to God has historical precedents that are documented throughout all of history. And you can kind of see the challenges of turning from God and the benefits of turning back, if you will. But, there's another little side note. And the first time our family ever did anything like this was like 45 years ago. And I know that's longer than the institutional memory of probably anybody in office. But we did kind of a mock disaster just to see what, are we ready? And to tell you the truth, you talk about you turn your power off, you turn your water off. And you, in our particular case, it was a real eye-opener. We had a little open fireplace. It wasn't a wood-burning stove or anything like that. And our family gravitated to about 5 or 8 feet away from the fireplace with our sleeping bags in front of it. And, our preparation of our meals were on a camp stove and so on and so forth. And it was like, whoa, baby, doggy, we need to think about this before we get too far. And I'm here to tell you, the prep time is not the 15 minutes before your disaster happens. I talked to one of my kids the other night before the storm hit them in Missouri. And he'd gone out that night after work, if you can believe that, and he bought a generator. And I'm saying, well, why the heck didn't you have one? You're in tornado country. You should have thought about this, But the fact of the matter is that all those generator selections were way down. And it's not just generators. And that's a pretty big ticket item. But you look at, water. Water's a critical issue. If your pipes freeze, suddenly you can get mighty thirsty mighty fast. And there are other issues like
freeze, but if they break, it's worse, because now you might end up as soon as not realizing it's broke. And then when, of course, the snow or the ice starts to melt, pretty soon you got a flood in your house and you didn't realize it. So that's even, the downstream repercussions of this stuff oftentimes might be even bigger and more disastrous than the storms themselves. So beware of that. Power can still go out in many of these places. Pipes might be broken. All kind of things can happen. It's our goal. It's our focus to turn us all to God Almighty for solutions. Prayer works, people. Turning to God has real benefits and blessings. And then doing all within our power and then turning to God, do our best and turn to God for the rest should be the focus that we're having on. Our prayers are with all these people suffering in these situations. God bless them, and our prayers are with them. Hang tight. We've got more. We got to talk about 1984. We'll do it in seconds. You're watching Liberty Roundtable Live.
How would you like to help this program reach more people and earn silver at the same time? Call or text 801-669-2211 for complete details.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons is being called on the carpet, ordered to appear before a federal judge in Minnesota later this week. Minnesota's chief federal judge says the Trump administration has failed to comply with orders to hold hearings for those detained in immigration sweeps. And Lyons is being ordered to explain why he should not be held in contempt. Following the president's phone call with Minnesota's governor, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says it's President Trump's hope, wish, and demand that the resistance and chaos end today. Referring to anti-ICE protester deaths in Minneapolis, Leavitt suggests that some Democrats have blood on their hands.
This tragedy occurred as a result of a deliberate and hostile resistance by Democrat leaders in Minnesota. For weeks, Governor Walz and the Mayor Jacob Fry and other elected Democrats were spreading lies about federal law enforcement officers who are risking their lives daily to remove the worst criminal illegal aliens from our streets.
The BBC's Peter Bowes says Mr. Trump is taking action that he hopes will help to resolve the standoff in Minneapolis.
The president has now sent his border czar, Tom Homan, to meet with local politicians, a move that's widely seen as trying to de-escalate the situation. But Donald Trump is showing no signs of backing down over his immigration stance. But now the political fallout may be prompting a rethink over tactics.
The historic winter storm may be gone, but its impact is far from over. Schools and some businesses remain closed. Airline passengers are dealing with flight delays and cancellations, and dangerously cold temperatures persist across a vast area. On Wall Street this morning, the Dow is down 404 points, while the Nasdaq trading 181 points higher. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment? That's a lie. Most timeshares can be bought online for $1. To find out what your timeshare is worth and to cancel it, call us today and we'll send you our timeshare exit kit free with all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley for your free exit info guide. 800-893-2288. That's 800-893-2288.
Hey, I'm Mike Slater. My dad passed away at the age of 63. It's out of nowhere. Had a stroke. Super hard, obviously, for the whole family, but my dad had life insurance. This is why I have life insurance for my family, for my wife and 4 kids. And the best place to get life insurance is ethos.com because you can do it in 10 minutes. And there's no medical exam and no blood test, just a few health questions. Get life insurance in 10 minutes so your family is protected. Ethos, E-T-H-O-S, ethos.com/Mike.
Former Sheriff Richard Mack recounts in his book The Proper Role of Law Enforcement how he came to realize while working as a beat cop how wrong the all-too-common orientation of police officers is when they think of their job as being to write tickets and arrest people. Richard Mack tells of his personal transformation from by-the-number cop to Constitution-conscious defender of citizen safety and freedoms. Learn what it really means to serve and protect. Purchase your copy at CSPOA.org. That's CSPOA.org.
Get ready to be part of something incredible. We're breaking barriers and delivering the powerful stories that mainstream media won't touch. Your support is what fuels our mission to revolutionize journalism and bring you the truth. Join our passionate community of changemakers by donating at libertynewsradio.com today. Together, we're creating the future of news.
You know where the solution can be found, Mr. President? In churches, in wedding chapels, in maternity wards across the country and around the world. More babies will mean forward-looking adults, the sort we need to tackle long-term, large-scale problems. American babies in particular are likely going to be wealthier, better educated, and more conservation-minded than children raised in still industrializing countries. As economist Tyler Cowen recently wrote, quote, "By having more children, you're making your nation more populous, thus boosting its capacity to solve climate change. The planet does not need for us to think globally and act locally so much as it needs us to think family and act personally. The solution to so many of our problems at all times and in all places is to fall in love, get married, and have some kids.
You know, most people have probably, maybe when they were in high school, read Orwell's dreary dystopian novel 1984. It's 40-something years past that, what's happening, what's going on. Some of the people lately, I've received a number of questions from people that participate in our webinar. And it appears that Orwell missed it by 40-something years maybe, but it's fast approaching. And if I might just, flock is one of the multitude of threats. It was started in 2017 by some big tech guys, whose names you might recognize. You like these billionaires running your life, at any rate. So this system right now is in 5,000 communities across the United States, and it goes way beyond license plate recognition. And they're going to integrated predictive software with some of the other packages that are coming out now that can basically, they track off your doorbell. And again, this is a private company. And so they're marketing their services to the police agencies and to homeowners associations and so on. And they say, oh, yeah, this helps in crime prevention. But let me just as I was sitting here, I thought, let me just read you a question that somebody sent me. And I get these pretty in-depth questions. This sounds like, holy cow, it's an essay. No, it's not. It's people that are thinking about these things are thinking. And this is really upon us right now. And our legislative bodies need to probably step in and intervene. I mean, because this is being marketed across a whole spectrum of things. You might remember that Tom Cruise movie, Minority Report, where they use precogs, they call them, to predict crime. And this kind of predictive technology is having responses, and it's a real step beyond the red flag laws that Trump and Bondi and some of these people have been in favor of, where they take away your guns because you might have a problem, But here's the question. Sam, when I get done with the question, we could take this 1,000 different ways and spend the whole time together on this, but we don't need to, but people need to think about it at least. Okay, here's the question. What could we do to organize against these flock camera systems that are being used by local police agencies to violate our rights protected by the Fourth Amendment? They're using technologies that is owned by private companies that are not restricted by the Constitution in order to sidestep the safeguards that are in place. They track our every movement to keep tabs on every American. Then they use AI systems that are fully connected to every government agency nationwide, healthcare, bank accounts, social media accounts, and conversations, etc. Then they use predictive models to build a case against you. We're past the comfort of the proverbial silken cord and have begun to realize the horrors of the steel chains that are being tightened around our necks, and most of whom are completely unaware that the threat even exists. We're stepping into a true life Minority Report scenario. So that's the Minority Report film I just referred to that Tom Cruise was in. You can look at it. It's a pretty dystopian kind of movie that's quite depressing, actually. But at any rate, these are upon us, 5,000 communities. And now there are some communities that there's court cases that are going on. And there have been some rulings against this as a violation of the Fourth Amendment, search and seizure without warrants and so on. But the opposing viewpoint is, hey, you're in public. You can't expect to have privacy in public. But see, this is a focused, laser-sharpened kind of approach to things. And there are some court cases that probably there's going to get more before there's less, but most of us don't have the resources to fight it. So we might take a preemptive approach to this and approach our legislative bodies, our sheriffs. I've met with my sheriff, I don't know how many times, not about this specific issue, but about other issues that are, to me, a bad direction for our country. And so you build a relationship during this time, but your legislators probably ought to start thinking about this. Now, by the way, in Utah, I think they're going the wrong direction. In Utah, they say, oh, we're protecting digital identities, and oh my goodness, we're right on top of this, and they have a digital kind of czar and all this kind of stuff. But in my opinion, what they're doing is they're greasing the skids for something like this. And they say, well, we'll put guidelines up and everything, but no. When 5,000 communities are currently using this, and it's like I say, they take pictures of everybody's license plate, rear license plate. They get identifying factors off the car, color and dents and scratches. They got bumper stickers they're tracking. And if you remember, Sam, and I'll just kind of jog your memory a little bit, back in 2008, when we had those fusion centers that were going all across the country, you and I did a live call on the air to a Missouri fusion center where they were saying if you have a Chuck Baldwin or a Ron Paul sticker or a Second Amendment thing or
if you have a Liberty Roundtable sticker, baby.
And suddenly you're a domestic terrorist. And I mean, these kinds of things, this since 2008, that's been a few years, but this is orders of magnitude beyond that. And it's all integrated and police can keep it. They usually say, we just keep it 30 days. If the police want it and they're contracted with it, it's kept, so far as I know, in perpetuity. Sooner or later, they're going to run out of storage, obviously. But you look at where the NSA has got things, maybe they're going to offload it to keep it in the cloud, if you will.
Well, they might have to send it to China for safekeeping. Who knows where it goes?
Yeah, right.
But I want to take a step back to this discussion for a second, because I think that your viewer, listener, participant, whatever you want to call it, with the question is spot on, first of all. They're the way they phrase the question and the point that they're bringing up shows they understand the topic very well. And so I want to honor that and step back for a second and say this. The debate about, hey, you don't have a right to privacy because you're in public, that is a bogus, red herring, dishonest, manipulative statement. Let me explain what I mean. It's true you don't have a right to privacy when you're in public, because anybody could take a picture. You could be candid camera anywhere, right? And it's not really a problem or bad for people to have cameras up. Okay, that's not the problem. Okay, the problem is when you start to then take that camera data and start assembling pieces. In other words, building dossiers behind the scenes. Hey, Dr. Bradley has a blue car. Sometimes his wife drives a green car. This car has this license plate. Oh, by the way, Dr. Bradley lives at this location, and he has, Comcast or whatever internet. He has a recycling and a garbage can. So and we start to build this. Hey, Dr. Bradley doesn't go much over the speed limit, but he always speeds. And we'll mark that down. And Dr. Bradley, we've seen that he has a gun in his truck. It's on a gun rack or whatever, but you can tell he's a redneck, whatever. He's got a gun rack and he's got a gun. So, he's put a danger flag on Dr. Bradley because of, and I can keep going, right? You've seen me paint the picture. I can go on forever because they just build and build. The problem with this discussion is probable cause. You don't have the right to violate me and my person or my papers or unless there's literal probable cause. So just because there's a camera on the street, it might be a person's camera. It might be my door cam or on my garage pointed at the street and you're driving down the street. There's not really an issue with that, in my opinion, constitutionally. Private property people can have cameras. Governments can have cameras in the public eye. But it's when you start to take that information and that data and government starts partnering with a company like Flock, and then they start to look for patterns, look for, possible building dossiers on people to where if they ever want to arrest Sam Bushman, all they got to say is, hey, we've got all this data on Sam. He's guilty of this, or whatever. The problem is the gathering, the archiving, or the retaining of this data, and then the organizing it into some kind of a way that violates the probable cause discussion. That's really where I want to go, Doctor, because I don't have a problem if somebody has a camera anywhere. I can't stop it, and it's not unconstitutional to put up a camera. What is unconstitutional, though, is when we start to tie that into building dossiers, as you mentioned, these fusion centers that have up and down surveillance of and gathering data and passing it along. Hey, you know what? Sam Bushman was seen in Utah driving his pickup with a gun in Iraq, and now he's in Missouri. hey, or now he's in California. Step it up. The laws are different in California because, see, they've gone and taken all that data and built that without any probable cause whatsoever of any crime or anything else. And so to me, it's the probable cause line that we really need to defend and discuss, Doctor.
And they have to go before a judge and present that information and swear an oath to it and all this kind of stuff. None of that's happening. Now, you look back and everybody, they say, oh, those damn Nazis in, 1934 or 38 or 42 or whatever. The Gestapo was building dossiers on people and papers, and Stasi, that's, East Germany, the KGB, Russia. You say, oh, those are all excellent examples of bad examples because they were a totalitarian society and they built dossiers on people. Free societies do not.
Nothing compared to what they've got on us now. Quick pause, more in seconds. This topic continues. You're watching the one and only Liberty Roundtable Live.
Do you know what is great about America? Ask an Immigrant. Ask an Immigrant is a new podcast dedicated to helping Americans, especially our youth, value, appreciate, and be grateful for the freedoms we have here in America. Join host Lydia Wallace-Nuttall as she interviews immigrants from around the world to discover their inspiring personal stories about why they came to America. To learn more about why America is the most prosperous, greatest country in the world, download the Loving Liberty app or go to lovingliberty.net.
In the medical field, IT security is crucial. Our highly skilled consultants are HIPAA certified and have 20-plus years of experience servicing medical clinics, billing, and supply companies. We offer comprehensive endpoint protection, guarding your computers and servers against all stages of threats. And with our 24/7 monitoring services, you'll never worry about extensive downtime again. Ready to level up your IT support? Call 801-706-6980 today and discover how great IT services can be with managed IT services.
The Foundation for Moral Law is a nonprofit legal foundation committed to protecting our unalienable right to publicly acknowledge God. The Foundation for Moral Law exists to restore the knowledge of God in law and government and to acknowledge and defend the truth that man is endowed with rights not by our fellow man, but by God. The Foundation maintains a twofold focus. First, litigation within state and federal courts. Second, education. Conducting seminars to teach the necessity and importance of acknowledging God in law and government. How can you help? Please make a tax-deductible contribution, allowing Foundation attorneys to continue the fight. You may also purchase various Foundation products as well at morallaw.org. Located in Montgomery, Alabama, the Foundation for Moral Law is a nonprofit, tax-exempt 501c3 founded by Judge Roy Moore. Please partner with us to achieve this important mission. morallaw.org.
Yes, indeed. The company's called Flock. Flock Camera Systems, being deployed nationwide, virtually assures the fulfillment of the 1984 Orwellian kind of prophecy of 100% monitoring. They're getting there, and they're getting there fast. And the problem is that, we got to understand this. You have every right to think and believe whatever you want to. But if your belief turns into actions of crime, that's when we've got a problem. And I reject the thought police idea that we're going to preemptively stop crimes because you don't preemptively know what I'm thinking or believing or doing at all. And 9 times out of 10, it's out of context and it's abuse of my rights. So we talked about this. They can have these cameras anywhere they want to and everything. But the problem is when they start to use that data, collate and organize that data into dossiers or into information about individuals. And then it's another thing from it being anonymous data to individual data. So if they take my face and compare it in face recognition technology behind the scenes and go, yep, that's Sam Bushman there. And then they start to add all these different pieces to the pie. What you've really got is an action without probable cause. That's violation 1, in my opinion. The second violation is due process. When you start to gather all that information on Sam Bushman or whoever, due process is inherently violated because now you're gathering a bunch of details and facts on me. If you ever drug me into court for any reason, you could say Sam's guilty of these 46 infractions over the last decade. And I'm going, what? yeah, he jaywalked over here. He did this. He did that. And the problem is now they've got all these details on me that they had no authority. Let me say that again. No authority to gather, archive, and assemble because it violates my due process of law. And what I'd want to say to the court, although they'd shut me down, would be this. I need to see everything you've gathered on Sam Bushman at any time, anywhere. And I need to see the whole catalog. What have you built tied to Sam Bushman? Tied to my name, tied to my birth date, tied to my Social Security number, tied to my Social Security card, tied to my, I can keep going, right? My driver's license or the equivalent of an ID, my credit cards, my debit cards, my banking information, my vehicle information. We can go on and on and on and on and on. Insurance. How much of that have they gathered and assembled? I want to see the whole deet on that. And I would say to the judge, I need the right to subpoena this. And then the judge would say, no, we're just saying that you jaywalked, buddy, and you're in trouble. All we're talking about is jaywalking. So they would narrow the scope and attack me and deny me the ability to make my case that, you know what? There was no probable cause, first of all, for any of this. And secondly, you violated my due process rights. Dr. Bradley, isn't that really the fundamental core of the discussion?
Well, indeed it is. Just to give you some order of magnitude of the intrusion currently, these guys at Flock, using their own information, indicate that they take 20 billion trackings a month in the United States.
And hold on, say that number. Did you guys hear that? I don't even know what 20 billion trackings is. I can say the words, but how vast that is hard for me to comprehend. I don't even really know what a billion is. It's hard to understand. But 20 billion trackings?
A month. They're scanning that many
without
vehicles.
any authorization, without any authority whatsoever. Violation of due process, violation of probable cause, guidelines, innocent until proven guilty. We go on and on, right?
And then you add to this the predictive and correlative software that's out there. Palantir, you might have heard about, where they collate all these things together, and pretty soon they can look at you. Basically, if you got Ring cameras and your neighbors have them going down the street, they can ultimately and finally see where you were at any given moment as you drove down the street. And this kind of stuff they're integrating with audio software that they've got also. And they say, you can do tracking of gunshots. Let's say you're in Chicago and you hear guns going off, and they have these, microphones that are put out there, and they report these locations to the police. And they're also integrating. They say, well, if someone's calling for help, we'll capture that. Well, how far is that from you and me walking down the street, Sam, and saying, doggone it, man, there's so many things going on in our legislature right now. It just isn't right how they're, narrowing our freedom. And now, how far away are we?
Those Flock cameras, Dr. Bradley, they're spying on us right now.
Well, I hope they're
stuff, right?
Not in my office, but they're probably, they're integrated into this broadcast. That's what NSA does.
Well,
but
hold on, just so you know, we know that when they have TVs in the room, they're taking snapshots of what you're watching on TV and sending it back to the companies that manufacture the TVs too. So how long will it be when there's a camera, this and that? We have no idea how much we're being spied on. And that's why I said if I were to go to court, I would want to demand, show me everything you've got on me and what you've collected without probable cause in violation of my due process rights, right?
And some communities are pushing back. And some of the things, the ACLU, for example, has some heartburn with this, as you might well imagine. But their heartburn, to me, it's a red herring. It's a distraction in so many ways. They're more concerned about is a preponderance of these sensing devices being placed in minority communities. So they're looking at color of skin, socioeconomic status, and so on and so forth. They say,
hold on. What does that mean when they look at color of skin? Does that mean if I'm a white guy and I jaywalk, I'm in trouble, and if I'm a black guy and I jaywalk, it's all cool?
Well, it may be that, but what I'm saying is the ACLU is saying, no, you're putting these in the rough neighborhoods in Detroit or Chicago, and that's racist, and you can't do that. So, it's like, no, wait a minute, where the crime is occurring, maybe we have an argument for putting it there.
Well, and it's not racist, but then the question of probable cause in that case increases significantly. But again, I say we need to draw a fine line between, hey, we have this information, and when can it be used? So a gas station takes my photo coming in and getting gas or whatever. The gas station has every right, if they want to make sure that their property is safe. And cameras are the way to do that. But turning that information over to anybody that could be actionable without a court order is a criminal offense, in my view. Right? They don't have authority to do that.
Well, I'm telling you that some of this stuff is real-time transmission of information. I mean, if some vehicle pops up for some reason, and let's just say it gets to the point where the database is all shared whether or not your vehicle has insurance. It's a lot of big deals with the law and everything like that. But let's say that we get all this integrated and collated information, and somebody has had their insurance lapse, and they go through a light. Let's just say they stopped at the green light. They stopped at the red light. They go on the green light, and oh my goodness! So the police could potentially get a real-time report. This vehicle has lapsed insurance. It's immediately transmitted to nearby police. They have a real-time response that they go on this kind of thing. You can see how this could unravel very, very quickly when we get these agencies now that are, now I'm kind of shifting gears a little bit here, but right now, today in America, we have a militarized police movement. I'm not going to say it's completely engulfed everything and everybody. But the feds have basically purchased the mentality through training and through all sorts of arming up. Everybody's in body armor. It's like they're in Fallujah, in the mean streets of Fallujah, and they're in a stack kicking down doors and all this. We're in America, people, and there's escalations going on for policing action that is more and more and more militarized. And we see this on our TVs every day when we look at
and those TV shows, in my mind, are designed to acclimate the people to being used to that happening to their next door neighbors, to those around them. And even though I support Tom Holman and this illegal alien, deportation program, at some point that gets their technology and their ability and refines their militant type ability to et cetera, et cetera. It's a problem, folks. Let me summarize this. The flock camera systems being deployed nationwide assures the fulfillment of 1984 kind of style. Now, the Palantir, or however you say it, style, mass surveillance, it's policing without probable cause. It's violation of due process, government use of people tracking technology or analytics, flips the Constitution on its head, folks. Instead of probable cause leading to investigations, it becomes a data dragnet surveillance, treating everyone as a suspect. First, due process, privacy, everything else. Second, the presumption of innocence, gone. This is not targeted law enforcement, folks. It is suspicion by algorithm. It's incompatible with a free society, period, end of paragraph. There is no way to describe it. So let me finish by answering the question the person had. One, I think going to your sheriff and not getting crazy, but peacefully explaining, this is a violation of my due process. Because if you gather a bunch of information on me, you're gathering stuff where there was no reason to gather that in the first place. And then, hey, without probable cause, the one sending of this information wholesale to government is a violation of the Constitution. It's time to educate our sheriffs. It's time to educate each other. It's time to get our city council and our county commission members involved. You've got to have the people stand together in solidarity to reject this abuse of power. It's that simple. And if you don't have enough people, you better move to where there is enough people. Otherwise, you're going to get run over and ignored and eventually tossed in the clink because government knows no bounds. It's like fire. It's dangerous. All right, Dr. Bradley, Sam Bushman, continue. You're watching the one and only Liberty Roundtable live, syndicated by LovingLiberty.com. God save our constitutional republic.